I am Manhattan Mark, and I welcome you to my very unique take on the city of New York. If you appreciate what I'm talking about, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe. Any New Yorker will tell you that the same street they walk down every other day of their lives, suddenly an entire building is missing and you can't even remember what that previous building looked like, even though one has passed it for 10 years, 20 years. Buildings are torn down in New York City every day, and the rate only accelerates. And people in 1910 complained about this, and people in 2010 complained about this. Synagogues are torn down, churches are torn down. So the miracle in front of us today are two wooden homes. They're called sister homes. They're side by side. They're made from clapboard. They're wooden. In 1866, New York City passed an ordinance forbidding the construction of wooden homes because of the danger of the homes bursting into flames. These two were put up by carpenter brothers, and they were erected just underneath the 1866 ordinance curtailing clapboard house buildings. What's interesting, they're a precursor to the brownstone. How many wooden structures are there left in New York City? Some sources say there are a dozen in the West Village, and there are only 2 on the Upper East Side. That's what makes these even more enchanting. Look at the treads on those stairs. You can find that same pattern in a 1915 industrial metal catalog. This neighborhood had become very industrial by 1910, 1920. If you compare these 1866 clapboard homes to their equivalent, which would be 1870s brownstones, up at top, the windows that are rounded, we call those dormers. The dormers are in line with the 3rd floor bedrooms. Bring your eye further down. What do we see? These two buildings were designed by carpenters, not by architects. Radically, those parlor windows are off center. Every brownstone would have the windows. Look for yourself. Any brownstone you look at, the windows would line up perfectly. If you observe this building, you will see that the windows all line up. Most likely it was designed by an architect, not just a carpenter. Building number 312 has been landmarked for quite some time. However, the sister building, 314, was not landmarked. So what did we, and we only found that out in the year 2000, when the notorious Harry Macklow bought 314, the yellow clapboard. He bought that as part of a package deal and was going to tear down one of the only surviving wooden homes. Harry Macklow, as a developer, has a very interesting history with New York City. In the 1980s, Mr. Macklow was responsible for 4 buildings being torn down in the theater district as people were going home from work. Bulldozers came in and began to tear down buildings with the electricity, the gas, and the water still turned on. He got into a lot of trouble in court for that, and it's my belief that because of what he did in the wild 1980s, not the 1880s, 1980s, Harry did that. Because of the stain that put on his reputation, he was all too happy to protect this non-landmark building, 314. It was put up for sale again, and in that moment, the Landmarks Committee saw its opportunity to landmark the second building. No matter what happens now, anywhere in this neighborhood, the last 2 farmhouse standing style clapboard homes, they're protected. We're going to take a few steps to the corner, and I will show you architecture just as unique, early 21st century. I tried to imagine what the clapboard houses would look like surrounded by rolling hills and farmland in 1866, and let me show you what that looked like. from the wooden clapboard houses, and I wanted you to see something really fantastic. 2016 high-rise behind me. It's called an undulating rectangle, designed by Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill. And what do they take their inspiration from? A glass vase designed by the pioneering architect from Finland, Alvar Aalto. In fact, the name of the building is Aalto 57. Philip Johnson's classic lipstick building, but I love this view from 2nd Avenue. You can really get a sense of the gift that Mr. Johnson gave to this entire neighborhood. It is the only rounded building, rounded high-rise. Imagine how brutalist all of 3rd Avenue would be if he had not put up a giant piece of mauve-colored, it's a mauve 80s, right? It's mauve lipstick building. I love the shape of that compared to all the other gigantic rectangles around it.